Hello? Does that work?
It is pretty louder.
Okay. I think we'll start off using microphones, and if it's too loud or troublesome, we'll stop.
But if we're quiet, it would be easier to hear.
Ellen, the voice of common sense. Okay, thank you very much. It's lovely to see you here. Zia and I, we kind of know each other.
Yeah, kind of.
Yes,
Yeah.
it just takes one conversation after all. And I have to confess it was me that added remarkable to resilience. And I don't want to mislead you, because actually it's incredibly ordinary, but it's incredibly powerful. But I just thought we needed a really nice title, so it was all about the words. Just as in the other group, something's brought you in here, something has intrigued you or interested you, or you have a story, and we'd like to cover all of that. We love the idea that if we just say a few words, and then we'd love you to ask questions or share stories or your understanding, because we figure that's why we're here, to share and connect and to help each other understand as best we can. I wonder if just now we could ask, who would be willing to give us the last 3-minute warning? So it would require someone to be able to tell the time.
I would put an alarm.
Thank you. Laura's doing that. Thank you very much. Was everybody feeling settled? We can do that 1-minute thing. Always feels such a long minute. Okay, so what I have understood about resilience is night and day different to how I used to live, not understanding anything about resilience. So it was very often quite a big struggle. I thought it was all on me. I thought you either had learned it well, it was something outside of me that I had to do, and therefore I was ill-equipped in my experience of the ups, but particularly the downs, because this is where we sort of look resilient. So this is looking back now, but for a good number of years, I had one of my daughters became very mentally unwell, seriously mentally unwell. And I look back at that time now very differently, and it's not just because it's hindsight, it's because the way I live now when there are troublesome times is very different. So back then, all of the stuff about having been a failure, having caused this thing, I became quite demented myself with my own thoughts, but I did think it was the situation. That's what I believed. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm weak, I had to have time off work. I thought I hadn't learned how to cope well enough. Now I look at that through a very different lens. There was nothing to learn. There was nothing that I didn't have. Because we're born. It's part of who we are. If we talk about true nature, which many of us will be talking about, that's where we are resilient. It's not a separate piece. It's not an external piece. It's part of who we are. And, I look back and I'm very gentle with myself. I have a different understanding of these things now. And yet, even though I didn't know anything about that then, of course I was resilient. I couldn't recognize it, didn't really think about the word. I just thought, you failed. And that colored everything. And yet I was resilient because I got up every day. And there was lots of trauma. There was lots of heartache. And yet I got up every day and I carried on. And that speaks so much to, it wasn't something I was doing, it was something that was enabling me. It was something beyond the little me mind of, I can't cope, this is too much, it's awful. And I'm not mocking that. That was genuinely my experience. And there are times now when I think, this is tough. But it's not that I have to get better at being resilient. I've just got to get to remember I have resilience. It's natural. I don't think do you think, I could ask a question. Has anyone ever felt they couldn't get through a particular situation? Anybody? Yeah. And yet, how many? And I think that's what occurs to me now in terms of resilience, is the recognition that, like love, like understanding, it's part of our true nature. We can relax. It's going to carry us through. It's not up to us. We don't have to do anything. We have to recognize that that's what's carrying us through, thick and thin. I'm going to pass to Zia. Oh!
It's lovely. Ta-da. It's lovely what you're saying. It's the exact opposite. I mean, I do a lot of work in schools, social services, foster carers, that sort of thing. And the model that's being offered for us, working with others, is so much about the deficit model. You know, we have to build resilience. And there's a kind of gritting of your teeth. Just hang on in there. Hang on in. You'll get there. You'll get there. You know, it's wow. It's really soul destroying to hear. Because like you just said, it is that which we are. You know, you've already heard these wonderful speakers, so we can cut to the chase. We are perfection. Mind, thought, consciousness, it's perfection. The system is perfect. And then we think it's not. And that feeling that comes when we think we're operating from a deficit, faulty model will breed, I'm only talking from my own experience, a heck of a lot of other thoughts. And they rush. And we're not even aware of most of them, right? Because it's old conditioning and it's coming in. And we feel, it's like, like there isn't a person in this room that doesn't know that from some time, surely. And if you're sitting there thinking you never felt it, well, you might sometime. But once we look in this direction, once we start looking, and we start to trust in the infinite perfection which is powering all of this and is this, and is sitting there, and I'm looking out at that imperfect, and you're looking, and we're all, my goodness. And it sounds like that. Wow. And then resilience becomes kind of just, well, okay. Yeah, of course we are. And of course, sometimes we think we're not. And I have my own experience I'm going to share, just in case you think I'm being too spiritual. Around about 1 o'clock this morning, I woke up, went to the loo, came back, and thought came, I wonder which t-shirt I should wear today. It's such a little harmless thought, right? What harm? Do I wear the one with, or do I wear the white one? And then suddenly, boom, we're in, okay? And we're into the whole, oh my goodness, what will they think of me? Blah, 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 blah. You know, one tiny little t-shirt. And at 1:20, I woke my other half with laughing. He said, "You all right?" I'm like, kind of. What's the problem? It's a t-shirt thing. But it's also about approval, self-worth, imposter. Oh, they were all coming, all coming. And I'm not pretending that I remembered Sid and then it all went away. That's not what happened. I kind of nodded off eventually, but I woke up this morning and all I had to do was open the living wardrobe and take out a t-shirt, right? They were all hanging up. But there is, I think, the more we look this direction and the more we live those experiences like that, and I know a t-shirt is tiny, but it's also the nature of thought. The more we start to trust that it will come and it will go. That's what it does. But we are the presence that doesn't. And that presence is untouchable. Untouchable. Shall we play tag?
So, over to you. Is there anyone here who doesn't have enough resilience that we can help? That's good. That's a start.
Should we go then?
Would anyone like to share an experience where they recognised resilience in a way that was different or previously unseen, or was just extraordinary in the terms of, wow, I didn't know I could do that? And it might be with hindsight, the understanding shifted, but it created a shift. And my experience is once you've had the shift, it's like, I don't really think about it, so it's gone. It's that subtractive rather than additional thing. So, yes, can I give you this?
Yes. My name is John. I'm going to tell a story about maybe the opposite of what you asked, but it shows where I thought my resilience was so strong that nothing could ever get to me. Until one day I thought I was dying, and I knew how I would face death. It would be brave, it would be great, I would be going to find out everything that I didn't know, and it would be wonderful. Until the day I thought I was dying, and my resilience crumbled and left, and I didn't want to die. I had so much left to give, I had a family left, career, and me not being as resilient as I thought I was helped me to discover the true nature of resilience. Because once I got finished getting all the tests done, and the doctor said, whatever happened to you, it wasn't anything physical. I said, well, where did I look? He said, look in your head. So clearly my thinking at that particular time had driven me into panic attacks, had driven me into thinking I was dying, and I wasn't thinking. And thanks to that incident where my resilience disappeared that I thought I had uncovered the true resilience that I now know is innate, as you said earlier on. So I just thought I'd share that.
Thank you.
Helen?
So this story is more about not even needing resilience. And the first week of March, I was sitting in a restaurant in the town that I used to live in, and I was 24 hours post-biopsy and 3 hours waiting for results. And a friend walked into the restaurant to have lunch with me and said, Ellen, look at you. You look amazing. Like, what's up? Like, what's going on? And tears just came to my eyes. I didn't know amazing was a possible experience waiting for results of a biopsy. I didn't know. It wasn't resilience. I didn't know that that was available. And I didn't know that when the cancer diagnosis came 3 hours later, that peace of mind was available there, and for 8 months since. Like, this is beyond resilience for me. Like a cancer diagnosis would have absolutely been an exception to everything that I thought I knew about the principles and everything that I had experienced with my own physical health journey. So I just feel like I want to expand this resilience to, like, aren't we also having experiences where resilience doesn't come in? Or it shows up, I don't know, does it, or it makes, you know, and then the moments that I made a decision against so I became the general contractor of my health journey, because I'm really good at running my life, or so I think. I became really good at partnering with Mind on my health journey. And I made a decision against myself in order to people please. I didn't realize I was doing it until the anger and reaction to everything that came up. And after a couple hours of that, I was just like, what is going on? So there's an example of the resilience. Like, the resilience came with something's off, and it just let it be, and it will pass. And it did, and then I realized, well, I'm not doing what my heart says. So thank you for this topic and the opportunity to bring it to me.
Thank you for sharing, and I think what occurs to me now is that this is always, it can be a red herring to name something and then talk about it as if it's a thing, as if it's real, as if it's separate. And actually what we're trying to do with words is to reverse that and say, you know, I mean, I think you've spoken to that beautifully. Resilience, we made the word up. It's part of our language, and therefore it has, for each one of us, what do we understand by that word? How do we relate it back to our life? And I think we need to put it back in. And as you say, the design, there's nothing wrong with the design. It doesn't lack. It's not imperfect. Of course, it's perfect. And it was great that you came in with that. Yeah.
I really want to thank you for articulating so beautifully, you know, this idea that we cannot know what future insight or thought we're going to have from one second to the next. And you lived it. It would be presumptuous of any of us to talk anyone else's journey, but to, in that moment, have the gift of the insight that you had, conscious or unconscious thinking. That is such an amazing miracle to witness and articulate so humbly. And it's available for all of us, so thank you.
I didn't know that I knew that. I didn't know it was a possible experience. And that opens up
Yes,
to infinite possibilities.
infinite. You know, we can't know what we're going to think next, what mind will give us, but we can start to trust in the perfection.
Ellen's story just brought something for me, because in Ellen's story, it's incredible how mind works. I heard her story and I realized, so a friend. So through something, a reaction of a friend or something that a friend said, it's amazing, that intelligence, like, you're gonna get it one way or another, and you're not getting it with mind talking to you, so we'll sit a friend down next to you and let's see if you get it then, right? So for me, there was this experience in a job loss It was a young family. I think I was probably 36 or something in the corporate world and all that. And so walked in and there was this downsizing, and I shouldn't have been surprised. It was in HR. We were like terminating all kinds of people and see it coming as this downsizing happens. So anyway, I walk in and they're like, I'm sorry to tell you, but your job's been eliminated and here's that. So, and I'm going home in the middle of the afternoon. And my mind is racing. I'm 36, we have a mortgage, we've got 2 kids. And then it's great, like thought, right? Personal thinking, right? So then we'll have to sell the house, eventually we'll be homeless, right? And then we'll have to sell the kids. And then it's all the sort of like normal, like logical things that were reasonable, like what you'll need to do next, right? So, but except now I get home and my lovely wife, who's here, Kitsa, now I walk in the door and like, how am I going to tell her this? Because this is a big deal, like what's going to happen. Like, so you got to imagine by the time I get home, what this big deal was for me. I'm like beside myself and I don't know how I'm going to say this, and this is the most horrible thing that's happened. My life is ruined. Somehow I get in and I'm all awkward or whatever, and then I said, Keith, I've got to talk to you. Can you come in the family room and sit down? And so she comes in and she sits down. She said, what? What is it? And it's so amazing how the perfect, mind connecting with Keats a particular way when she's in the middle of whatever she's in the middle. Just kind of like, what is it? And so I'm like, they told me I'm fired today. I lost my job. So we're sitting on the couch next to each other, and she's listening to me, right? Like, what's going on? The minute I say that, they told me, they fired me and I lost the job. She stands up and goes, is that all? Is that all? Is that what this was about? And she says, you're gonna find something else. And she charges off into the kitchen where she's like preparing and like cooking. And I sat there stunned, right? It was like mind-knowing. What are you, silly? Like, nothing better could have happened for me in that moment. It just snapped me right out of whatever this crap was into this. She had zero reaction, just kind of like, don't waste my time. I'm gonna find something. So her level of confidence and certainty about it's all gonna be fine and you're gonna find something and whatever. And it just reminded me when Ellen said about how her friend made that statement that sort of shocked her into seeing something that wasn't there. Something.
Interesting, like I saw what was there. She reflected what was there, and that was what was so extraordinary. It's like, I didn't know amazing was possible. So it can go both ways, where we get the message from outside, or the message is reflecting of, wow, she's really seeing amazing. Awesome. So thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. I was just going to go back to our John's story. It feels to me that all these stories, the 3 stories that we've heard, are so speaking to the same thing. It's like you didn't know, and you didn't know what you didn't know, but then like this miracle happens, and we put a word to it, and we refer to mind, and that's what it feels like to me. For a split second, something gets us out the way, whether it's a friend or an insight, door slamming, it could be anything, and suddenly there's that new thought, and we're off and we're running in a different direction, different track, and we didn't do that. So we can relax a little bit more, maybe,
Yes.
and let ourselves be guided, let ourselves know that there isn't just one way. And actually, even if we can think of 4 ways, that's still pretty limited, isn't it? Whereas infinity exists for us. And that was in a movie for children, wasn't it? To infinity and beyond.
Yeah.
Go there.
To infinity. Already there, hon. So are we all. There's something that just popped into my head. Here we go. Gone again. Hang on. Something about the idea that when we are with somebody else, when we see them as this amazing mind, thought, consciousness, when we see them, the divinity within them, or whatever word works for you, when they hear that or they experience it, that's just incredible. And over, I'm sure there's lots of people in this room that have taught this stuff or been with friends or whatever, but it's as much as in how you see them in that moment that allows them to experience that too. I don't understand it, that's way above my pay grade, haven't got a clue. But working particularly with angry teenage boys, which is a lot of the work I did, it's amazing to watch Mike give them exactly the thought they need in a perfect package for them. Makes no sense to me, sounds like whatever, but they hear something and they're like, oh, I've just had an insight. And they'll say something and it will transform everything. So it's not always the big thoughts, right? It comes perfect for us, packaged perfectly. And that's just amazing to see. I'm thinking of examples of children who couldn't get in exam halls because the exam hall was too scary. And then they would hear a little bit of the stuff you've all heard and you all know, that it can't be the thing outside of you causing that experience, that we're having some thinking, it's creating a feeling. And they'd wander off and I'd think, I didn't do that right. But it was, that didn't matter, right? Because they heard something and they would come back and say, I'd say, what are we going to do about the exam hall then? You've got your A level next week. Oh no, I'm fine, Uncle. What? I don't know, it's just a hall, right? You start to see this a lot. I mean, I was very lucky, I was keep teaching batches of 30, whether they wanted it or not, they got taught, right? They were like conscripts. So, and not all of them, some of them were just there going, please make it stop. But a lot of people just went through the conveyor belt and then would come back and say things like, I don't know what happened, but I've stopped biting my nails. Why have I stopped biting my nails? Or, another nice one. I looked at my mum and she was shouting at me and I realised she loves me. It's just right now she doesn't think she does. What amazing, amazing gifts. Over and over and over again. It's happening all the time. Just wanted to add that one because, wow. Infinity.
You got that?
Yeah. Don't know how. Are there any questions? Yeah. Anything anybody wants to raise?
Any more stories to share?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, question. It's not a story, it's a question. So, you said that you work with like young people and within social care education. I used to work in education, and what you said really resonated with me. We need to build resilience so in our education system, and actually no one knows how to do that, and we're all teaching these lessons in citizenship about building resilience. We don't know what we're talking about because we, like you said. So my question to you, I guess, is like what like these young people that you work with, do you just sort of like sit and talk to them like this? Like what? I don't know, maybe that's a stupid question. Yeah, like is it like this? What's happening there?
What age range did you work with?
All ages, but I worked with teenagers for a long time.
Right. So I think you know that if you attempt this with a large group of teenagers,
Exactly, and that's
you'll
why
go
I'm asking.
horribly, horribly wrong, right? It really will, because they're not as kind as you are, and they haven't paid, and they didn't ask to be here, and there's really, all those things, right? So there are lots of ways. I mean, I'm just going to say there are curriculums and there are models out there. There are several. I happen to work for one charity, but there are several. And they're all underpinned with the principles. I'm very happy to talk about it afterwards with you if you would like. But also what I've come to see is a curriculum for a teacher. This is interesting. And Ian, you're going to laugh now. Be ready. A curriculum is only so much. It will take you so far. He's gritted at me because we disagreed for a while. And turned out Ian was true. I was a teacher and you needed to know exactly what you were going to say and all your exercises and everything. It turns out that actually it's good to have an idea of where you're going. So lots of games. There are lots of games, lots of things you can do, lots of thought exercises and fun, lots of role plays. So many options, right? And the learning would be that way, yeah? Making Play-Doh shapes and then talking about thought being like clay, you know, thank you, Michael Neal, that was a great one. You know, like those sort of things, metaphors, playing, dipping tea bags in water and the thought and the feeling, you know, those things, they're metaphors that we use, but you can get kids to actually do it. I mean, it's messy, but it's great. So interactive talking, and then occasionally you'll get a settling and then he'll go again. But yeah, good teaching for that generation. Actually, it's for all of us, really. We should have got tea bags out, really, but there you go. But there's something about that, yeah, most definitely. And then the insights will come anyway. So it's the same stuff, just as different pedagogy. Yeah, different way of doing it.
Thank you.
And then, of course, it's the good old small group one-to-one stuff, which is, you know.
My background is also working with youngsters who were disaffected and kicked out of the system. And God help you if you thought a curriculum could help you there.
Yeah.
Getting them in to the places was the thing. Once you did that, that was a success. And two things really, I'd say, and I think we've been saying this all the time. For me, before, this was really early days, pre and early days of learning about the principles, something in me, or something through me, allowed me to be with young people beyond, I'm not claiming any credit for this, allowed me to be with them as young, amazing people. And their behaviour would not live up to that. And they would challenge, but it was just, I was given a gift, I think, and I can remember, you know, and I'd be walking around singing, and I wasn't like this at home, I can tell you, but at work, it felt like I knew who I was beyond who I thought I was most of the time. And I can remember responses from children where I'd said very little, maybe just something came, a very simple thing, and the response is like, well, why didn't they teach us this in school? Instant. There's not kind of a but. Well, you say that, but that's too simple. They loved simple, and they loved something that they sort of just relax. I think there's the two things working. The words will come, and you know, with bigger groups that been conscripted, it is different. They were all conscripted in a sense, they had to come in, but you know, we started with small stuff. We started with a cup of tea sometimes. We started with kindness and acceptance. And I remember being challenged by a member of staff, another member of staff, who said, well, she said, you know, you have this light-hearted thing going on, but, you know, I take it really seriously. And I said, believe me, I take it really seriously, but I love it, and that makes all the difference. And I think that was me being defensive. But that's just it was the feeling was everything. And I think children are a barometer of your feeling somehow, that they know when they're safe with you.
And they know bullshit when they hear it, right?
Oh, there's none of that.
They will call it out if you just get too up yourself. They're gonna kindly remind you that, yeah, really? But you seem a bit upset now. But we can't put a feeling in you, right? Let's test that. You know? So they're great for that. They're great for that. Did you have a question?
No, it's 2 minutes.
Oh, thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, yes.
My question is resilience. It's a really amazing topic.
Can you hear the question?
No.
Do you want the... Okay, sure.
Resilience is really amazing, and it's really what keeps us stay alive or get through our situation that we sometimes get into it. My question is, for me, being resilient in a situation that I have no choice is not a question. I always have this resilience when I'm in a really tough situation. But once I came out of it, that's what affects me. So, with it, I really don't know what it is.
Can you just clarify what you mean by once I came out of it?
Once I came out of the situation, that's when it affects me. I don't know why. I don't know what to call it.
Okay, I'm gonna just call it full. Yeah. I'll just sort of come back, but I'm winging it here.
I couldn't catch the question.
Oh, so the question was, tell me if I've not got this right. At the time, we can really cope,
Yeah.
right? We do. In fact, we thrive. We do what's done. But afterwards, that's when it gets me. And my suggestion for that really is that we are a mind body for a start, yeah, and we have so much subconscious thinking that we don't even know we're having. We can be blessed. My own experience has been in very difficult, challenging situations. It's like mind kicks in, and we do what needs to. And the mind can be really quiet, even in those really challenging situations. And so many people nodding, so yeah, we know that one. But the subconscious may be doing its thing. We don't know. And then on top of that, when it stops, we then revisit it with our thinking mind as well. So we've got, oh my goodness, X, Y, Z could have happened. Bring the past to life. Yeah, there's a big smile there. So yeah. And then we've got the future thinking on what if that happens again. Yeah, and we're moving, and if you get really good at it, you can do a double whammy, past, future, past, future. And that's the feeling of the horrible feeling of distress is coming from those experiences that thought. Yeah, the principles are still working perfectly, but we can't remember that when the body is responding. I love what Mark said this morning when he talked about the physiology is responding to the thought, conscious and subconscious. I mean, he's just so perfectly put that. Does that answer?
Yeah, thank you.
Something that helped me to realise something new was the idea that if you pedal really fast, you get momentum. And when you take your feet off the pedals, you don't necessarily stop. You carry on. And that's, sometimes I feel that you've created this momentum through thought, and you may come out of it, but sometimes the body has to play catch up. You know, the heart has to calm down. We have to realise we're okay, and there may be some seconds involved in that. So that was just riding a bike, it's easy. Anybody else? Somebody had their hand up. Was it Rani?
It's not a question, I just want to share anything.
Yeah, please do. It's lunchtime, we've got all afternoon.
So thank you both, this is a beautiful conversation. And going back to the title of your talk, which is Remarkable Resilience, and it's how ordinary is that? And the metaphor that came to mind is one that Keith Levin's wife uses, Velda Monroe. The yolk is already inside the egg, And that's a very powerful visualization, because even when we don't feel resilient, doesn't mean that the yolk has gone away or someone has taken the yolk away from the egg. It's always there. And that reminds me also of that all feelings are welcome. So we think of resilience as like, oh, pumped up and I have to be strong, I can't be vulnerable, I can't be cheerful. Actually, all of that, the true mental health or true resilience is already innate. And of course, I make a distinction between innate resilience and also acquired. Like, you go to the gym, you pump up muscle and kind of thing, and or you get stronger. And we know that there's a difference in that form. But what is beautiful about what you're saying, the ordinary, is helping us all remember, going back to Mark's question about remembering, the yolk is already inside the egg. And once we really slow down, get quiet, and get present to that, the answers come anyway. So thank you for a beautiful, again, ordinary, remarkable conversation about resilience. Thank you.
Perfect.